Welcome, soul family. I am Tallulah Kelly. I am the magical medium, and welcome to the spiritual guidance channel. Today, we are welcoming in the blessed new moon in Taurus. For 2 straight moon cycles, we've been in the Aries energy, and now it is time for us to relish in the energy of Taurus, because most of Taurus season was in a second Aries moon. So now we are only 2 days away from Gemini season, but we're going to carry this earth energy with us, this grounding energy, this attachment, this pentacle energy, but we're going to do it with panache, and we're going to do it with grace. And we're going to do it with love and kindness on our face, because we are the lovers of life. If you found yourself here, you're part of our family, our soul family. If you just like the picker readings, that's fine. You don't have to watch these, But it's interesting. I've been reading so many things the last few years about how much attention span has dissipated in humanity. And it's very interesting to me, because we want the quick, fast answers, but sometimes we need to sit through the lessons. I could clean my phone up more, I could get more, whatever, doesn't matter. But today, Spirit shows me that I have 47 minutes and 24 seconds to share with you the magic that I've experienced over the last few days, and the law of Dharma, and this new moon in Taurus energy, because Spirit is really calling us. They're calling the mystics. Literally, I heard a song that said "Call of the Mystic," and I knew what they were trying to say, because I've had 3 of the most incredible days I've had in a really, really, really long time. And in this Earth Taurus energy, and at the end of the Aries moon cycle, my husband and I celebrated our 8-year anniversary of meeting each other. I celebrated 12 years of living in the Pacific Northwest, and we went to the West Coast. We went to the Tree of Life to celebrate 8 years, because 8 is the number of infinity. It's never ending. It doesn't have a beginning or an end. It's never ending. And I knew that if we could make it, I knew it, I felt it with every fiber of my being, if we made it to 8 years with complete, honest, and open hearts, loving hearts, no secrets, no drama, no nothing, if we could make it to this point, that everything in our lives would change. And interestingly enough, the morning of our anniversary, the day before, on Tuesday, we kind of like went off grid for a few days, mostly, and we just talked and hung out and laughed and cried, and just, it was a lot of really interesting things that happened. But we were in Loverville, like, we were super, super happy. Everything was really good. The morning of our anniversary, on the 17th of May, literally, like, I was making food for we were taking a daycation, because we were having a staycation, because right now we have a lot of things going on with our home. So we were like, let's not spend money. Even though we had the money to go away, we were like, I don't really want to go away. By the way, that huge black spider just came back, and I have not seen her since the last reading. I'm not joking. You guys know I don't lie. It's not in my soul DNA to do so, but look at this beautiful grandmother. She's back. Hi, Aunt Kim. I was calling her Aunt Kim because she came out right after my Aunt Kim died. And she's a biggin. And I absolutely feel with every fiber of my being that she's talking to us. So look up Spider Spirit Medicine if you haven't looked at it already. Sorry, I might have been covering the volume. But anyway, thank you, grandmother. But yeah, the morning of our daycation, that we had decided that we were going to go to the Tree of Life, because how we met was through the internet dating 8 years ago. And even though it was starting to become a big thing, it wasn't as big as it is now. It was still, some people are like, oh, I don't know, or that's, you know, you don't know who you're dealing with, blah, blah, blah. So I never went on any dates with anyone unless I saw their picture. He had a picture of the tree of life, Alder, my husband. And I was curious because I was working with the Tree of Life at the time through my own studies. And so I was like, oh, that's interesting. So I clicked on it, and everything he said was everything I was going through. And so I was like, who is this person? We messaged each other back and forth. We text first, we emailed, then we felt safe enough to give each other our phone numbers after I think a day or so of emailing each other. Then we texted each other for 3 days before we actually met. And I didn't even put it all together until we were on the beach. And I said, you realize, like, I was, you know, in my very much not understanding who I was yet, but I knew who I was, or I was waking up to who I was, and I was beginning of the journey, but I didn't really understand that meeting him on a moon day. We met on a Monday, and the place that I was working, they weren't even normally open on Monday, but they were noticing that Monday was a big shop day. The fellow shoppers were like, you know, a lot of the servers are off on Monday, and they're the ones that spend money and spend cash. And she had a secondhand store, but also had a lot of witchy stuff and crystals and essential oils and things like that. Total witch, awesome, powerful witch. And so she said, hey, would you be willing to work on Mondays? And so I was like, sure. So I said to him, why don't we meet after my shift? And I had just quit drinking, and he had been sober for several years at that point. And so we decided to meet at this tea house in Portland. And long story short, I was listening to my earbuds on the way there. And right before I met him, as I was turning the corner to go on Belmont to meet him at the tea house in Portland on Belmont, the House of Tea, I think it's called the Tao of Tea or something like that. And A Thousand Years came on from Christina Perry and from Twilight. And 8 years ago, Twilight was still kind of a big deal, you know? And so it was so interesting. And his name was Edward when I met him. And I was like, you know, what are the odds? You know, this is crazy shit, you know, whatever. Um, anyway, I don't want to talk too much about my story and waste any time because we have so much to talk about and so much to say. I will talk more about this story on Lula's life. So look out for the next Tallulah talk because I had so many breakthroughs and I really, really want to share them with you guys. But anyway, so we had this massive fight because I cannot use, my phone is like, it's spreading. It's like a virus basically on my phone has spread with like, I can only touch so much of the screen, blah, 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 blah. So it's been very challenging for me to do anything with my phone or post or whatever. And I was like, well, perfect timing, you know, we're going to be on a break. That's fine. You know, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But I tried to message him to let him know that the propane went out and I was gonna par bake like some food and I was gonna make a bunch of food for dinner so that when we came home from our vacation, we would have a lovely, healthy meal to eat. He went up to clean out the car, work on the car, check all the fluids, make sure everything was good because we were driving over 2 hours, you know, to the coast. And he didn't know that I was trying to reach out to him. He didn't look at his phone. He was gone quite a long time. I thought he was going to be gone like maybe 20 minutes or whatever. So when he came back, I just lost my shit. I'm like, dude, we were supposed to leave a half hour ago. I'm like, what are you doing? And we were just fighting. And it just was like, all before I knew it, I was crying. I'm like, I don't want to go. I'm like, this is, you know, messed up. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know. I'm like, this is it. That's what they're trying to show us, that like, we're not meant to be together and blah, 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 blah. And he just like looked at me, and it was so sad because he had already started writing. We have this love book, and we decided we were going to write in it, you know, on the day of our anniversary. We were going to take it to the beach with us, and each of us were going to take a walk and, you know, write to each other what we wanted to say. Instead of cards, we found that getting a notebook was just more profound for us and to keep, so that we can look back on it and see like how much we've grown and how much we've changed and evolved. I saw that somewhere, and I suggested it to him, and he was like, yeah, that's brilliant. So he had already started writing in the love book, and it was really interesting because then we had this massive fight, and I was just so upset. Like, I was just like beyond upset. And finally he just looked at me and he's like, why, like, what can I do? Like, I don't, like, he just looked lost. He looked sad because I'm like, I don't want to go anywhere. I'm like, we're over, it's done. See, that's what Spirit was trying to tell us. And then I realized it's because Spirit told us together and in meditation that if we decided to bond together for real, that this was it, this was our path together, we were sealing this part of our soul contract, that, you know, and it just felt so real. And I can't explain it, but for the first time, even though we, you know, have been married for like 2.5 years, but we didn't do like a quote unquote legal marriage. We, you know, went out into nature and we had our own betrothal and all this stuff. We had a hand fasting with the ancestors and Sasquatch and the fairies, and it was really powerful. In the woods on the river, you know, it was like really magical. At the same time, I think there's always been that part of me that was like, I could get out if I needed to. And him too. He's a triple Gemini, moon in Sag. I'm a triple Sag, my moon in Scorpio. And, you know, we're both kind of loners and have, you know, gone to the beat of our own drum for a very long time. And during our 8 years, we've broken up and got back together many times because of our addictions, because of our lack of self-confidence, because of our lack of self-love and self-worth. And you cannot love someone and you cannot be in a romantic, like, betrothal like that if it is not real and it is not pure. And I really understood what that meant, and so did he. And we've been taking it very, very seriously, um, since the last time we kind of like broke things off. Because after our wedding, you know, bad stuff happened again, and I was just like, I'm done. I don't trust you. I don't trust you. I don't trust you. And now over the last year, it's taken me a lot of time to really trust him, and for him to trust me. And it was just so in depth and so beautiful, but also scary. And I think there was just this part of me that really understood that Spirit, like, I am a disciple of Spirit. This is my job. I'm a prophet. This is part of my job. This is part of my Dharma, part of my purpose, which we're going to talk about that today, the law of Dharma. And I was like, it almost felt like it was our wedding more than our wedding was. And I feel like I needed to like cry to him. And I just like, it was in the most beautiful, most honest way. I looked at him and I was like, I don't want to live like this anymore. I don't want to live like this, like off the grid. I don't want, I'm like, we have to make changes. We must do this. We must do that. And all these things. And, you know, for what I was trying to explain to him, like what's been happening to me and us as a couple. And he just like got it. And he looked at me and he was like, you know, nothing is going on. I'm not doing anything. I love you. He's like, I love you. He's like, I started writing in the love book. He's like, I'm so excited about today. He's like, I've never been so excited to do anything with you. And I was like, I'm like, so this is real? We're really going to do this? And he's like, yeah, it's like starting to make me emotional. I'm like, we're really going to do this. And he's like, yeah. And I go, no more. Like, this is it moving forward. This is a brand new lease on our relationship, a brand new life. This is infinity, baby. We are twin flames. If that is real, if this is all true, I'm like, then this is our telling Spirit that we are accepting. And he's like, I accept it. And I'm like, okay, then I accept it too. And it was so beautiful. And we hugged and kissed and made up. And he finished, you know, doing what he was doing. And I finished, you know, packing everything up. And I closed up the house and everything. Now, mind you, my phone's on shuffle the whole time. And certain music was on. And we were like having these moments when we were fighting. And I was like, holy shit. And like, you know, whatever. Then I get in the car. And my phone had been like in my purse. Even though the music had been going or stuff, it had been in my purse. And all of a sudden, like, I get in the car and I said, we're ready. 1,000 Years started playing. And I was looking at him in the face because when I was listening to 1,000 Years by Christina Perry, when I came around the corner to go into the tea house, I looked through the window to see if I could see him before I opened the door to like see like where he was sitting. And I saw him and I remember my heart like sinking. And I just remember all of these things about him that I was like, oh my gosh, like, and it was like 8 years just flashed before my eyes like a music video. I am starting to cry. And it was like, he started bawling, I started bawling, and I'm like, oh my God. And he's like, is it on shuffle? And I'm like, yes. He's like, oh my God. Like, we both were like, holy shit. Like, I'm paraphrasing, I don't remember. We were just like in this, like, is that really happening? Are you playing that music? I'm like, no. And I was like, holy fucking shit. I mean, Spirit can play any music, any song. It's not like we were talking about it and it's like, you know, the voice is listening in on us kind of thing. Um, It was so powerful. It was so powerful. And it's like everything changed, and I can't explain it. And then the rest of the day was magic. And I'm going to talk about it in my Tallulah talk because honestly, I'm getting the shakes. It was pure magic. And these items that are before you, oh, sorry, I'm starting to get like, I'm like starting to shake because I'm so emotional because I want to show you all this. All of these rocks and this cedar were from our adventure. And this little beautiful piece of driftwood from the beach. We went to the Tree of Life on our 8-year anniversary. We have been up to the peninsula more times than I know. We're living on it now on the north side, but I'm saying on the west side, like we've been there so many times. And we've always said we were going to go to the Tree of Life. And if you don't know about it, it's in Claylock, Washington. And it's a tree, it's a Sitka spruce, and I'm going to talk about it more on that. But basically, these trees, why you see big trees of driftwood and stuff is like, they erode away from the coast, from the ocean, right? Like the moon, the lunar cycles, right? Like the tides ebb and flow with the moon energy, and it erodes away, time after time. And that's why these trees fall in. And it's really devastating when you see it. I mean, one of the last times we were there last summer, I'm like, what the fuck is that? We thought it was a dead whale because it was so massive. I thought it was a dead whale. I was so heartbroken. And then we watched it. We were camping and we kept watching it, and it was getting closer and closer to the shore until finally later that day, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's washing up on the beach. It was a tree. It was a massive elder tree, a big, big elder tree. And we watched it, and I'm like, we don't know where it came from or whatever, but it was just so powerful. And right now in this earth energy and this new moon energy, I want you guys to get connected with nature, get connected with your higher self, connect with the Taurian energy. If you haven't watched the last reading, the waning crescent energy, it was so powerful. I highly recommend you go back and watch it, because really there was a two-parter, and it was focused so much also about Jupiter going into Taurus. So I thought that was interesting because, most of the moon readings, we talk about the moons, we talk about the moon cycles, we talk about the moon energy, but this was much different. It was really powerful. And Spirit wants us to relish in this Taurus energy. So especially now that Jupiter, it's the largest planet, so it has the biggest effect on us, and it is the planet of luck and ambition and hold on, Spirit's drawing my attention. Oh, I was like, what are you saying? I'm like, oh, they told me to grab my book. Okay, so Jupiter is luck, faith, belief, fate, philosophy, and adventure. So we never got to go to the Tree of Life. And last weekend, it was so beautiful at the coast here. It was in the 90s, which is like crazy. That's like just doesn't happen. That's like a real beach day. It doesn't happen usually towards the end of the summer, until like the mid to end of the summer, because in the Pacific Northwest, we're really, high up there. It's cold. It's mostly cold. So, when we have a real beach day, I'm always like, let's go, let's go, let's go. And they were like, no, 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 no. And then I realized it's because they wanted us to go on our anniversary. And I'm so glad, because we went on a Wednesday. Like, most kids are still in school, people are, whatever, but it was busy. And I can only imagine, because it was the weekend and 90 degrees, we would have been miserable, number one, because I really don't like being hot. I don't like getting sunburn. And it would have been a madhouse, people going to see it, because she's been dropping and dropping and dropping. And basically, she was a Sitka spruce who was upright. And then over the years, the erosion has happened, and she should have gone out to sea, but she didn't. She's still holding on. Her roots are so like deep into the earth that she's still holding on. But she's been falling and she's been drooping because, right, she's made of sand and stone and then all that. So, Spirit told us to go and see it. We didn't know, we didn't talk to a lot of people, but this one lady told us that it had been there, or she'd been there like 8 times over like many moons. It was an elder, and she said that it has dropped a lot since she's come over the years. So it was just a really beautiful day. It was it was so moving. I mean, just the whole day was beautiful. Then we went to the big cedar tree, which that's a whole other story I'll talk about later. But this chunk is from the forest of the big cedar tree. This chunk of wood, this piece of cedar, is over 400 years old. as we sit here, as I'm talking to you, these rocks and these trees, yes, but nothing else in this room is over 400 years old. Nothing else, you know what I mean? Like, it's just so profound to me. And we're going to burn a little bit from this one, which actually came from the big cedar tree that was like, I don't know, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years old. When you see the pictures in the video I'm going to post on Lula's Life, you will be blown away. So then we ended up going to Ruby Beach, where we found this driftwood. And these rocks, every single one of these pieces are from a moment that we had, that we cherished while we were on our adventure. And I can't even tell you, like, you know, some things are worth a second look and some things have to be let go. And there was someone that was in my life for a long time that I thought for sure was the one, that was my person. And I think I always kind of let my husband, like, kind of like, oh, well, if this doesn't work out, I'll probably go back to him. I think he's my twin flame anyway, like, almost in a derogatory way, like in a shitty, like, you know, how dare I, like, I, you know, almost like I don't deserve really to have that kind of love if I'm going to treat it that way. Yet the whole time I was with him, my husband now, every time he did something bad or he fucked up, I always kind of was like I was some saint, right? But I'm not a saint. And I've learned a lot about myself through him. I've learned a lot about myself through my family, my friends, my experiences. And a lot of you know, I experienced a tragic loss last week on the 9th. One of my most beautiful, cherished family members that was very close to me she was only 10 years older than me. She was an aunt of mine, but she was more like a big sister and a mother and a friend. And she was so many things to me. And I just think it's so profound that her death happened. And then I feel like I went through like another part of a death for my family and myself. And then, you know, here we have, you know, our anniversary. Sorry about that. The traffic's been really crazy lately. Then our anniversary, you know, and a rebirth of our relationship. And I realized that it was the love that was there, and that I don't need to hold on to the past and the people and the memories. I just need to hold on to the love of my aunt and the love that she had for me and the love we have for each other. And now that she's in spirit form, it's almost like I don't need to look back anymore. I don't have to look at certain things. And I'm really, really, really excited, you know, about a lot of changes that are coming up in my life. And so with all that being said, thank you for listening to that part of it. The second part of this reading, I really want to focus on all of us as a tribe because I have so much to share with you. And the moonology came through. So let's connect with the new moon in Taurus energy. First of all, welcome all of you mighty mystics, because the call of the mystic is our theme on this new earth. And this new moon in Taurus, in this earth energy, it's the first earth sign that we've been in through the moon cycles since the new earth came in. We needed the fire of Aries, right? And we needed a double dose of the moon of fire and Aries to kind of kick us into gear. But now it's time for us to kind of relax. We needed, you know, for the spring and the fall for both our northern and hemisphere family, we needed those first 2 months of change and transformation, of planting the seeds, of reaping the harvest, of, you know, all of the hard work that we've done. If you've been walking with me in this tribe, if you've been watching these readings, there's so many of you, I love you so much, there's too many to name, that have been with me from the beginning. You know, we have worked hard for this, but the next year, this while Jupiter's in Taurus, is going to be the best year of all of our lives. Some more than others. It depends on how much work you've put in, and it depends on how much work and growth you put in now. So we are being called, you know, from spirit by the law of Dharma to help improve our karma and also help improve our growth on this path, so that we can lay the foundation right now in this Taurus energy while we're still in the Taurus energy, but also now in this new moon in Taurus over this next moon cycle. As we go into Gemini as well, we are going to have a brand new approach, a brand new look at life. Another theme that came through from Freddie Mercury was love me like there's no tomorrow. And spirit wants you to love yourself and each other like tomorrow doesn't exist. Like it doesn't exist, right? Because you need to, you know, that song Chandelier, And she's like it doesn't exist. Like tomorrow doesn't exist. She's going to party. She's going to enjoy life like tomorrow doesn't exist. Like today is all there is, because you have to embrace that today is all there is. And our attention spans have narrowed so much that people can't even hang on to a reading for more than 15, 20 minutes. People are like, I want the instant answer. I want the instant whatever. No. You think these rocks, you think that these things happened overnight? No. Don't you love this one? It looks like a spaceship. We loved it so much. And this one reminds me of a heart. You know, but on the other side of this rock, the heart rock, look at how different it is. Rocks are just minerals and sands and things that have come together over time. Look at all of this. I mean, I was so drawn to these. And this one, I liked it because when Alder and I met, I was like, I've never seen so many white rocks. And he goes, they're actually agates. And I was like, what? And he goes, yeah, it's a sugar agate. And he was explaining it to me because his grandfather was a rock hound. And I loved this one because it's stained. It's tainted. It's not pure white. I could have picked up a pure white one. There was a gazillion of them there, you know, but I wanted this one. I wanted the one that has, you know, been stained and tarnished, because it shows me that my relationship isn't perfect, but motherfucker, it is strong. You know what I mean? It is strong. And I know I got into my sailor mode, but it's strong. It's as strong as this cedar, and I know it now, and I'm not afraid to love. So I'm going to burn this sacred cedar. Thank you, Spirit. We honor this tree. We honor Spirit as sacred. We honor you as sacred. And we are going to burn away all of that which no longer serves us. I have to smell it up close. Oh, I wish you can. This is where smell-o-vision, I mean, I can't even explain it. It smells like I'm baking. It's so sweet. So look for this tree. They may even have me do something on here with it because it's so powerful and beautiful. I'm actually going to put it on top of this other one. But yeah, I mean, it's like when you see these trees, you can't even believe they're real. You know, these trees where you can, you know, drive a car through them. It's like, it's wild. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable to think what they've saw, you know, or these, you know, these rocks, like how they've come into formation. What have they been through? These stones tumbling through the sea, through the mystery of life. And this, I was so in love with this piece of driftwood. There was something really magical about it. And I had to have it. We have some really big ones outside. You know, normally I don't like to take things from the sea like that, but I really got the vibe from Spirit that it was okay. And because we're shamans, we actually, by law, and Alder has papers of being, you know, because he's from the Slalom tribe here, they can't say anything. If we take anything off the beach, they can't say a word to us because this is their native land. This is his family's native land. So they literally can't say anything, which is kind of cool, you know, because that's how it should be. It's like, this is his people. This is where he's from, you know? Okay. So with that being said, there were 2 questions that Spirit wants you to ask yourself every day until you start living your purpose. And the first one is, how can I serve? And the second one is, how can I help? I felt like Sacagawea was trying to come through. Oh my gosh, you guys, that's so powerful. She probably is. I mean, she was up here. She walked this. So work with Sacagawea. I will find, I hope I'm saying it correctly. She was on the Lewis and Clark Trail. She was the guide of the Lewis and Clark Trail. So research that, and please put some more information if you know about her and you're like, oh gosh, there's so much more. Please let me tell you. We would love to hear it, please. You know, otherwise, for those of you, you can research it on your own as well if you're really called to it. Any of the information I speak through, you know, Spirit is working through me. So any information that I am saying to you, if it pings in your gut, that's for you to research and look up more, okay? Because that might have a connection to your divine purpose. So how can I serve and how can I help? Now I'm going to also put in the connection box, in the comment box, I'm going to put in a link to the Law of Dharma from I think it's the Spiritual Warrior Path series. I don't know if it's exactly that, the Spirit Warrior or something like that from Deepak Chopra, and I think you would really enjoy it. It's really wonderful. It's one of my actual favorite meditations, but it's more like, I feel like it's like a class. It's like you're taking a class, so you may even want to like take notes, but you can listen to it first and meditate and see what comes through, whatever works for you. But before we pull the cards, I'm just going to tell you what I pulled off of the internet and some of the things that I got from Deepak Chopra. So Dharma in Hinduism and Buddhist as well. There are a lot of actually traditional, there are a lot of quote unquote religions, cultural belief systems that believe in the law of Dharma. And this is what I got from them. So in Hinduism, they say it is a religious and moral law governing individual conduct and is one of four ends of life. And that's for you to research on your own. One of four ends of life. The key words of Dharma are merit, righteousness, and to act virtuously, right? And if you don't know what virtue means or virtuous, look it up, research it. Because now that we're in the new moon in Taurus and the new earth, they want us to start practicing the law of Dharma every day and loving ourselves and loving each other, because by doing this, our purpose is going to show up. If you don't know what you're meant to do here, or you're like, I do love doing Reiki, but I feel like I'm supposed to do something else. You probably are. A lot of things that happens is that we lend from our past lives things here. We're like, what do we want to be connected here? How are we connected? You know what I mean? Like, and if it's natural to you, you most likely did it in another life. Like if magic and manifestation is easy for you, spell work, things like that. Some people, they just use the art of spelling just through the natural speaking it into being, right? Like abracadabra really just means like speaking it into being. So as we are speaking things into being and we are connecting with our divine selves and connecting with the divine energy of spirit, we remember that we are these light beings having a human experience. It's not the other way around. And by going out into nature and like really connecting and touching and, putting my feet in the ocean and being part of it, you remember like, okay, this is who I am. Like, this is part of who I am, because we get locked up in like television and our phones and traffic and people and shopping and going out to eat and drinking and all these things that I know because I've practiced all these things. 3222, first angel number that called out. Interesting. Although I do think 4724 means something for some people. And it could be 47 and 24 as ages, because that's how much time I have on here, and that's the semicolons in between. But I thought it was really interesting that when I was watching Braca Goldsmith's Jupiter and Taurus reading, she spoke about how, there are 12, houses and 12, zodiac signs, and that each of them has a purpose and a place, and that's what astrology is, and blah, 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 blah. And how, yes, we go in cycles of 7 and in earth time, but also universally it's in cycles of 12 because of the 12 houses. And it's so interesting to me that my relationship on the 17th hit 8 years, infinity, like finally like working it through. Because when he and I met, we were so in love. We were such sweet little light beings. We were so beautiful and loving and wonderful to each other. And on Wednesday, it was like that. I felt like we renewed. We were like honeymooners. We were kissing all day, and it was just the cutest day. It was so real. It was so authentic. I didn't feel like I was trying to get him to participate. That shit's real. 33, 35. I saw 34 before that too, if it means anything to anybody. But then look at the next day on the 18th, it was my 12-year anniversary in the Pacific Northwest, which means I've gone through 12 cycles. And I started to look at like where I was when Jupiter was in Taurus 12 years ago. And I had a lot of magic happen to me that year too. So you guys, there's a lot of magic that is here for us, but we just have to tap into it. And we must let go of the past. And we must love ourselves. And we must let go of people that don't love us and don't treat us well. I've been trying to take down my poem that poem on Lula's life that I put what Mother's Day means to me in 2023. I mean, there's so much viciousness and anger and pain and suffering, but there's also like pleading and begging and like, please let me go, like all this kind of shit. And I've been trying to tear that down, and Spirit's like, no, leave it there. And I'm like, no, I don't want people to think I'm like this evil. I'm not like that. They're like, no, but that's where you were in the moment, and you're allowed to feel that. And people want to feel something when they're feeling it. Now, does that mean I was going to go lash out to my family and my mom that day? No, because I was just like, I feel like an asshole. It's like the first Mother's Day, she's losing her sister and my family. You know what I mean? I was just like, I'm not a monster. But at the same time, they were like, no, but that's where I was on Mother's Day with my aunt. It's just like it poured out of me. It's like I wrote that poem and then I just said it. I didn't even, even the fact that it was like the last day of Mercury in retrograde and like my phone fell and I didn't even, it didn't fall. The drapes came and like covered my face. And it was just like weird, like all these like, so I'm just saying, like, look at the magic, look for it because it's there. It's right in front of you. The magic is right in front of your face. But it is time for you to find your place and to find like where you are. And the only way to really do that is to ask how you can serve and how you can help. And how you do that is every morning. And even if you just do it for a week straight, every morning, 35, 34, every morning when you wake up, even if your alarm goes off, even if that means you set your alarm for 10 minutes before you actually have to get up, if you're somebody that's on a time schedule, then set your alarm. Give yourself, it's not about sacrificing sleep. It's about giving. Don't look at it as a negative. It's about giving. You are giving yourself, you are gifting yourself 10 minutes that you lay there and you don't talk to anybody, you don't do anything, you don't, even if it's just like a vibration alarm or something that like goes off and then like it'll go off again in 10 minutes. But go into, for 10 minutes, Spirit wants you to go into a sleep state of connecting with Spirit and meditation. It's only 10 minutes. And you ask Spirit, how can I serve? How can I help? And clear your mind like it's a blackboard, like it's a clear board. And then ask them to show you pictures or words or whatever. You may not understand it right away, but you might be like, tourist? What do you mean tourist? And then like that day, you're like out and about, you live somewhere or whatever, but a tourist comes by and says, hey, do you know where such and such is or how? And you're like, oh, actually I do. I live here. And you know what? Actually, there's a better way to get there and there's a better time to go. And if you want to go and blah, 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 you know what I mean? Because that's kind of how I felt when we were there at the Tree of Life. I was almost sad because it was crowded and it was barely any time to just have a moment where you can get, time in there by yourself because it's become, such a huge tourist attraction. It made me almost sad. And I felt like Spirit was like, don't concern yourself, with what other people are doing. You can still meditate in here. Let them walk around you. Like sit here, because you can go underneath the roots of the tree. It's so magical. So ask yourself or, ask Spirit, call upon your higher self and call upon your spirit guides, call upon Spirit, however you do your practices and your meditation. There's no right or wrong answer. Maybe you don't want to lay in bed. Maybe you want to take that 10 minutes and you want to get up and go sit outside. It's all different. It's for each one of you. But until you get this practice for 7 days straight, your mission, should you choose to accept it from Spirit, because we only got 10 minutes left, less than 10 minutes now. Your mission, should you choose to accept it for 7 days straight, is to ask yourself 2 questions in meditation for 10 minutes every morning. That's not a lot of time, you guys. Think about that. That's 70 minutes of your week that you're giving yourself. 10 minutes each day to connect with yourself and Spirit, and I guarantee you'll know. By the end of those 7 days, you'll know. And if you don't, it means that you're still working on something else. But don't try and push it or force it either. If something doesn't come that day, like I said, it could just be one word like that, and you're like, I have no idea what that means. Don't read into it too much. Don't go looking for it. Don't go like, what's happening? What, you know what I mean? Like, just let it be what it is. Because the law of Dharma is the law or principle which governs the universe. Be the lover of life so that you can extend that energy out to others. An example of Dharma is the nature of fire is to burn as well as provide heat and light. Hence, the Dharma, the purpose of life, right? The purpose of fire is to provide heat, light, and the ability to burn, right? That's all it is. Now I'm going to take a piece off of here, wherever it breaks naturally. This is a, even though it's dry, it's still an old tree. Oh, shit. Oh, gosh, you guys, look at that. So let me see if I can get in here. They had me do natural light today. And this is just one little chunk of the inside of that tree. Look at how it's almost glistening. That's just one little chunk. So let's burn. Oop, that piece went down, so I'm going to do this one. Thank you, Spirit. Let's burn away all that doesn't serve us anymore. Every time before I do these readings, I do a little meditation with Spirit as we prepare for this. Oh, they smell different. Now this one smells like more, I know it sounds silly to say oaky because it's a cedar, but it has like more of a deep, almost masculine. I feel like the first piece felt more feminine and the second piece felt more masculine, which is interesting because I wonder if that's what the trees are. Do you know what I mean? Like, I wonder if one of them was a more masculine tree and the one is more of a feminine tree. So I don't know if they're going to have me do a more extended reading, but interesting, before we even, you saw or heard me shuffling earlier, on the bottom of the deck, we have bring love into the situation, new moon in Aquarius. And may I also point out that I just saw a Gemini reading from Dee from Consciousness Evolution, and she spoke of some really powerful things happening between now and today, the new moon in Taurus, until the new moon in Aquarius. So, whatever seeds you're planting now, whatever you're like starting now is going to bear fruit by the new moon in Aquarius. Now, that doesn't mean that nothing will happen before then. Wonderful, wonderful things are going to happen, but you must believe that they're going to happen as well, because Spirit can't force you to believe in something that you don't believe in. If you're not gonna do the work either, Spirit said, then there's nothing they can do. Oh, don't let your past hold you back. Okay, so your mission, should you choose to accept it as well, is to work with your South Node. I want you to research the South Node because, again, I can give you the answers, but this is for you, and this is part of the work and the purpose. Don't let your past hold you back. The South Node. Also, it kind of reminds me of Taurus, doesn't it? Like with the bull horns. Okay, so don't let your past hold you back. I almost feel like it wants to go down like, oh, you can't see it. Don't let your past hold you back. I just felt like they wanted it to be closer than, yeah, I guess we don't need to see the fire. I don't have much time to play around with this stuff today, and I'm like, this is important. Ooh, and be bold and make the first move, the cardinal moon. Now, I may or may not do an extended for this. I'm not sure. I think they want me to start doing something where I get paid. So, there's been some readers that have been coming into my life recently that do extendeds. Have you ever seen those readings where they do extended? And that's kind of what I'm getting from Spirit. So I don't know if they're going to have me do that now or at another time. Maybe they're prepping us for that. But be bold and make the first move, the cardinal moon. Because like I said, I have like 5 minutes on here. Let me see, are there any more cards before we go forward? Let me see if they want us to read from the book. You got to love it when you open up to it. Okay, well, I actually opened up to the North Node, which is really interesting. So I was like the North Node, and then the South Node was right behind it. So maybe you want to research both. So the South Node, like the North Pole, is a karmic point, but it's opposite to the North Node and relates to the past, perhaps even to past lives. Whatever you're going through and whatever you're asking about, there's a chance that age-old programming and conditioning is stopping you from achieving all that you might. Do you feel stuck in something? This card will often come as a sign that the situation or relationship you're asking about has somehow become suffocating, even toxic. It suggests that someone, you even, needs to be released, that there's some kind of addiction going on or an unhealthy attachment that needs to be sorted out. One thing is for sure, when you get this card, you're being challenged to make some changes, even if staying where you are feels easier and safer. Get out of your comfort zone. Right? Because I think, isn't that the North Node? Yeah, that's why the North Node is step out of your comfort zone. I love Spirit. Exactly, right? So the attunement to this moon is, your mantra is, I release the past. It's 4 words. Pause and write this down if you need to. I release the past. I release the past. I release the past. 4 words. The additional meanings are: a relationship is karmic and is played out across many lifetimes. Your attraction to someone may be verging on the obsessive, and just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. Those are the 3 highlights, okay? And the teaching is the south node is where the moon crosses the ecliptic going south. On the horoscope, see how you see it in the picture? I kind of figured you guys would figure it out a little bit, but I could bring it closer. But right, like we're talking about the North Pole and the South Pole. It's kind of the same thing in the North Node and the South Node. See like this like point right here? So they're trying to show you that, it's your past that's holding you back. And I feel like for some of you, it's definitely a person. Even if this is for one person, it's definitely a person. And so it says, on the horoscope chart, it shows us what we are likely to become obsessed with, but which will probably do us little or no good. The South Node is the karmic astrological point that reminds us of the well-known phrase, if you always do what you've always done, you'll get what you always got. And it's on page 115. So let me see if they want us to read from Cardinal Moon. Now, we've worked with the Cardinal Moon before, so I'm going to fly through it. Now is the time to be bold, bossy even. Take matters into your own hands. Cardinal signs are powerful and self-starting. They're determined and great at organizing. Drawing this card strongly suggests that you're going to need to be all those things to get your ideal resolution or position in this situation you're asking about, right? Those questions. How can I serve? How can I help? Right? The law of Dharma. So, this card may challenge you how strongly you really want something. If you're worrying about something, it's a suggestion to be less passive. Instead, take an assertive stance as you steer events where you want them to go and speak up for what you want. If you're serious about sorting things out, you may need to take the lead in some way to step up as a leader. And the attunement to this moon is, I am taking charge of my destiny. And the additional meanings are: be bold and follow your heart and your emotions, number 1. Number 2, avoid recklessness or moving too fast, right? Take it easy, take it slow. This is the beginning of the moon cycle. We're not here, we're just thinking about, we're not like setting those intentions yet, right? We're going to do that in the waxing crescent moon. So the 3rd is come into your power. The time for action is now. We just had 2 months of moon action, Aries action. So now is the time to, whatever you are doing or putting into action or doing there, now is the time to really put that into action, okay? So, and the last one is ask Ganesha, the Hindu elephant god, for help. Interesting that we've had a lot of Hinduism and Buddhism coming through on this today. So the teaching is, in astrology, there are 3 quadruplicities: cardinal, fixed, and mutable. The cardinal signs are Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. Remember, we each have all 12 signs in our chart for different parts of our lives. It's just the way the astrological wheel works. So they want you to look and see where Taurus is in your chart. Okay, and work with that energy right now. So it says, these are the signs that are likely to get things started, and which are the natural leaders. No matter when you draw this card, it's a sign that something new is starting, and you quite possibly need to take the lead on it. I'm about to run out of time. So those are our messages. I don't know if they're going to have me do extended. If they do, you'll see it. If not, it'll probably be in a shorts or whatever, but check out Lula's Life for the new Tululu Talk. I love you so much. See you next time. Blessed be. Aho.